So much has happened since I last saw you. I lost my hammer, like yesterday, so that's still pretty fresh. And then I went on a journey of self-discovery, where I met you.
Marvel Studios Part 17. Almost there. T-minus 2 movies till Infinity War. Apparently there's this thing going around where people don't like Thor and think he's boring, and I think those people can suck a dick because I think Thor's awesome, and he's always been my favorite Avenger. Maybe it's the whole Viking beard, medieval-y thing. It's probably exactly the whole Viking beard, medieval-y type thing, Norse mythology. The fact that Anthony Hopkins is up there, Loki too. So I like that whole family dynamic, and that was pretty much the whole point of the first Thor movie, which everybody hates, but the whole family thing between the three of them I thought was really, really well done. And that is something that is also really, really good in Thor Ragnarok. I just wish there was more of it. They did it a lot in Thor the Dark World, so maybe they're like, oh, we don't want to retread too much of the same ground, but I want to see this relationship between Thor and Loki evolve, have its arc, have its beginning, its change, and its end. Like, where do they stand? And this being the Marvel Cinematic Universe, they've pretty much committed to having Loki be an anti-hero and not a villain. Like, I was thinking, like, what if Loki just got so out of control? Like, what if there was some kind of thing where Thor had to end up killing Loki to save people, had to literally kill his own brother? I think that would have been pretty cool. I think that would have been a great character building moment for Thor, but that's just not the route they chose. And I guess I'm okay with that, but I feel they did play it a little safe. Anthony Hopkins as Odin is a very underused character. I think he's awesome, and if you read the comics, which I don't, I say that like I read the comics, but I've heard from comics people that he's one of, if not the strongest person in the entire Marvel universe. So the fact that they just kind of ignore him for most of the movie, I thought was like, dude, what the hell? I saw this movie in IMAX 3D, and I was in the back row, so I didn't have that kind of shaky cam issue, but I had a 3D blur green screen issue, where like constantly Thor is like chest up, not showing where he's standing in front of the screen, and everything else is just CGI green screen nonsense, and it's kind of blurred out because Thor's in focus. And I'm like, that is the most obvious horrible use of green screen I've seen in a long time. And you specifically notice it because the scene where Hela smashes Thor's hammer, it's the exact same shot. She kind of like holds it and gives that like smile and then smashes it. The background is different. They're not in Asgard when that happens. Hulk, for the most part, looks really, really good. Now, all the monsters, all the things they created from CGI, the people that they needed CGI for, look fine. But it's kind of pathetic when they need to use green screen for something like a field, like grass. I'm like, dude, Did you guys ever leave the studio? Like, when you have a giant arena full of people on another planet with floating space, that's fine, alright, sure. But when you have literally a grass damn field, that had to be green screen? Thor, I think, has always had some of the coolest action scenes in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I like his enemies, I like his villains. You know, you got this giant, flaming, towering old demon king from Dark Souls 3 looking guy, and Thor's fighting him in hell, and there's literally dudes swarming after him. It's a great scene, it's great. It's this super medievally sword fighting stuff where I'm like, this is Lord of the Rings, and it's great. It doesn't have the tone of Lord of the Rings, you know, there's not that choir music and that symphonic sweeping orchestra. There's that doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. They have that kind of like banging on a synthesizer music, and then the immigrant song, which they used twice, which I thought was super, super lazy. You know, the first time you have it, it's fine, but the second time, pick a different song. The part where Hela first shows up to Asgard, she is just wasting people, and it was awesome. Only downside is that was one of the few scenes in the movie that they chose to have in standard aspect ratio and not in IMAX. Like, most of the movies in IMAX, and then a few times it switches back. Don't see it in 3D. Just stop seeing stuff in 3D, especially when IMAX is by the IMAX by my house anyway is switching up between IMAX 2D and 3D. So pick the 2D show. Save yourself some headache, especially since I was like in the far back right corner, so the screen was kind of like, and that messed with the 3D a little bit. I feel like the camera work could be a little bit better. It's not horrible or anything, it's serviceable, it's average. I can see what's happening for the most part, and there's a few good top-down shots of Thor and people swarming around him. My hands are down here, you can't see that. There's top-down shots of Thor and people swarming in around him. But then there's other times where something's like really close to the camera and they'll just like fly into the camera, fly past the camera, and I'm like, dude, back up, can't see. The sequence with all the Valkyrie Pegasi coming out of the sky was awesome. And I might end up actually doing a spoiler video about this, is the fact that this movie is basically Lord of the Rings. And I don't just mean in all the medieval sword fighting stuff. Like, there's a lot of plot points and a lot of themes, like, just pulled straight from Lord of the Rings that I noticed. And I'm like, cool. I'm not like, hey, you're stealing from Lord of the Rings. I'm like, you're gonna steal from something. Steal from Lord of the Rings. Something else I've heard people saying is that this is like the funniest Marvel movie, the funniest movie ever made in existence. I mean, there's a lot of jokes. None of them were like cringy. There was only one that really bothered me. It was like right at the beginning, like Thor's spinning on the chain. He's like, "Where's like, I know what you're thinking." Like he spins around, or he's talking to a demon god, and then he spins around. He's like, "Wait," because it's like looking at the back of his head. So they just wait for him to spin back around. And like first time it was like, yeah, sure. And then they just do it immediately again. Then like, not funny. But this movie did have two fantastic lines, and I'm not going to tell you them here because they're great. Two greatest jokes probably the whole year, both in this movie. And they were both from Taika Waititi's character, Thor. He's the director. Little New Zealand-looking Polynesian Indian guy. I know he's from New Zealand, but that's what he looks like. Thor, too. I like how Thor's got an actual, like, real beard with a little bit of fluff to it instead of just, like, this stubble, like this not-shaving stubble. Like, they actually committed to having a beard. I can say I like the black girl character a lot more than Natalie Portman. She's actually, you know, helpful and useful and matters to the plot instead of just the love interest that the humans can connect with because she's human and not a god. Heimdall also. Thumbs up. Good for you. Heimdall's a badass. At the end of the day, this is another Marvel team-up movie and not another Marvel origin story. And I find that team-up movies are way better than the origin stories. So I definitely came out of Thor Ragnarok rather quite pleased. I was in the 7 to 8 range, and then I bumped it up to an 8 when I remembered that Super Saiyan Blue Thor is amazing and the closest I'm ever going to get to live-action Dragon Ball Z. So let's see more of that, because that was awesome. 8 out of 10. This is also the third Thor movie in a row where they did not play Twilight of the Thunder God as the end credits song, so someone's not paid attention.